Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. I want to welcome you to this youth chat. We do this 3 or 4 times a year, bring together some youth leaders to talk about issues that are germane to youth. And this time around, we've got one of our favorite mental health clinicians to join us. We want to thank, before we get started, I want to thank the sponsor of this particular talk. This is being brought to you by Blue Shield of California and specifically their BlueSky initiative. We'll give you a little information on Blue Shield of California's BlueSky initiative at the end of this, but we want to thank them for supporting this particular production, and I want to thank you for joining us. Let's get to that panel. Let me introduce them really quickly, and then we'll jump right in. First, I've got Michael Betlach. Michael, what is up? How you doing? Welcome back to Brother Be Well.
What's up, Michael? Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited.
Really good to have you. Next up, Erick Gonzales is with us. Erick, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Again, like Michael said, thank you for having me on, and I'm really excited to get this started.
I'm excited too. Third and last but not least, Joel Swazo. What's up, Joel?
What's up? What's up? Good to see you guys.
It's good to see everybody. I'll tell you guys right now, these are three of a cohort we've got this summer. They're part of a summer academy here. Brother Be Well have been doing a fantastic job. So that's why we decided to invite them back for this chat. So thanks a lot, guys, for making time for us tonight. And then joining this particular panel, one of my favorite clinicians, Dr. Carlos Martinez. He's an associate marriage and family therapist with HearU.org. What is up, Dr. C?
Not much. Trying to stay cool. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Really good to have you, man. Let's get right into this discussion about youth. We've got a video we want to take a look at. Some teens of a group of teens. I want to say ABC pulled them together. We'll see in a second. They just did a little chatting about what's going on, and then we're going to turn it to our panel, and we'll talk to you about what's going on in their lives. But let's take a look at that video first, and then we'll come back together.
Here's what we did. We gathered a group of high schoolers for a candid discussion about the pressures they're facing, and nothing was off limits. Here's NBC's Stephanie Gosk.
We saw people making out, people smoking, people drinking.
Like a racy picture.
Oh, send me a picture of that booty or something.
8 Colorado teenagers sat down with us for a raw, unfiltered conversation about what goes on inside their lives.
I'm Marley.
Max.
Claudia.
Morgan. Adela.
Cam.
Alexandra.
Jalen.
Teen expert Rosalind Wiseman helped us gather a group willing to speak openly about what it means to be a teen today.
Like that.
We kicked off the discussion by asking the teens to confess something anonymously that their parents may not know.
Magic bowl of secrets.
Drugs came up early in the conversation.
This is a good one. I don't smoke pot.
Remember, in Colorado, marijuana is legal for adults.
It's such a normalized drug that you're almost like pressured to do it.
It's kind of a stigma, like if you're not chill about someone smoking pot, then you're looked down upon.
I have a lot of friends that smoke a lot.
Which would you say is easier, getting pot or getting a 6-pack of beer?
Pot.
Pot.
Yeah.
Pot.
We also heard about the abuse of prescription drugs.
Sometimes there's like pill parties when they have like a bowl at the front door and everyone drops a pill in and then you can like take one and you don't know what you're taking.
That's very scary.
Yeah.
I feel like a big thing right now is lean.
What's lean?
It's like
Cough syrup, Jolly Ranchers.
Oh,
and Sprite.
So-
It's a drink?
Yeah.
And you just take it with
You
pills.
just chug it and it's really strong.
Sexting. How many of you have ever seen a naked photo of someone in your school?
When did you first see it?
Middle school?
6th grade.
6th grade, yeah.
12?
Yeah.
Do you have to ask for a picture or do some people just send them?
Oh, no.
Some people just send them. Guys will just send them.
I mean, it's
Same with
hard.
girls.
Yeah, same with
Girls will too.
Yeah.
Really?
Out of the blue.
I've had people come up to me like, "Did you see this picture?" Like, no, I don't. I don't want to do that.
If someone that you were kind of interested in asked you to send a naked picture of yourself, would you ever think, oh, it's kind of creepy?
I wouldn't think it was creepy, just because it happens so often.
Sexting turned into a conversation about sex and the hookup culture.
Let me ask this question. Is it easier to hook up with someone than it is to hold their hand in school?
Yeah.
The girls worry about slut shaming.
There's a whole discussion about it, how girls get treated more, get judged upon more than guys do.
Yeah, I mean, if you wear something, you get slut shamed. If you do something, you get slut shamed. If you walk some way, you get slut shamed. Like everything is picked apart about a girl.
And most of the time, it's actually girls who slut shame other girls. That's what I've noticed.
Nothing's private or your life anymore. Getting into a fight with your friend, everyone knows about it. Everyone knows both sides. Everyone knows what you said over text.
There's a lot of competition. Like, you go onto someone's Instagram, there's this all pretty and all parties, and it's just kind of like, oh, I don't go to parties that often.
Does it make you feel bad?
Kinda.
I feel like you have that pressure to only post the cool thing you did over the weekend.
I get embarrassed when, like, my grandma comments on my pictures.
Come on. Parents misunderstand what school is like and how hard it can be compared to when they were kids.
You have to have straight A's, join clubs, do sports, have a good GPA, make sure you get into good colleges, have a social life, but still be able to hang out with your family.
My parents tried to get me to do a lot of advanced classes and an AP class, and I'm not doing too hot in those. Like, I think I jumped the bar way too high up.
I definitely need time with my friends to take a break from all of the sports and all of the tests and quizzes.
Sometimes when I say I'm going out with my friends, I'm not. I'm going to parties or to hook up or something. If your parents are tracking you on GPS, how easy is it to ditch them?
Easy.
Leave your phone.
So I'm at a friend's house, right? We hear about this party, and I leave my phone at Sam's house, but he takes his, and so I sign into my iMessage on his phone, and so when my parents text me, it goes to Sam's phone, and he sees it, and then he says, Cam's your parents texting.
So you'll respond with, Sam's house is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all about the...
Alex tried a different strategy.
Last year, I told them I was going camping for a weekend, and then I went to my friend's house where her mom wasn't there for the weekend, and we threw 2 parties.
I mean, you know when you go and do that, when you just bold-faced lied to your parents, you have to in that moment think, what, I'm not gonna get caught? Is that the hope?
That was a pretty good lie, and then I had my friend text him pretending to be her mom.
So you used your friend's phone pretending to be your friend's mom texting to your dad. Yeah, I got it.
Rosalind Wiseman, author of the bestseller Queen Bees and Wannabes, says all of this is a normal part of growing up.
The purpose of adolescence is to push and to figure out where you stand on things and to make mistakes and to break rules. I want parents to realize that you really do not have to know everything about your child's life to have a good relationship with your child.
And the teens had similar advice.
Have trust in your kids.
Guide them as much as you can, but at the end of the day, they need to learn for themselves what's right and wrong.
That was fascinating. It really was.
Yeah, fascinating for those of us with teenage kids.
Yeah, you know, we've been going through with Leela, and she's been terrific. But I mean, it's been rough for her. You know, the senior year, college, all the tests, and the social media. I would not want to be growing up.
A lot of things seem to resonate with all of us from when we were teens. But then there's the social media stuff and some of the other stuff that you can tell kids are having a tougher time with. there's
some ways, some things that never change,
Yeah.
you know, like teen girls boxing out this group or that group, but now it takes on this extra level with social media, and it's tough.
Yeah. We've had a lot of talks with, I have a 15-year-old boy, and sometimes you'll talk to him and you know you're not getting the real story, and other times he's remarkably candid, and you cherish those moments because you think you're getting valuable information, but it's hard.
It is hard. That video is a few years old. I can tell from the anchors on that piece, but I thought those youth covered a fairly complex set of issues in a pretty short period of time. So that's why we wanted to show it to kind of kick things off. But let's kick things to our own youth. Eric, how about you? Let's start with you. What do you think about maybe some of the things you heard in the video? But more importantly, what do you think youth are dealing with today that parents and caregivers need to know about?
Well, listening to the video, I kind of found myself nodding along, because some of the things that they mentioned, I went through. Some of the things, especially when they mentioned the social media. Social media plays a big part in today's culture, especially with youth, because now everyone knows everything. You don't really have the privacy you once did. So now everyone, like she said, everyone knows when you argued with your friend. Everyone knows all this and this and this and that. And I say with some things, especially with that, it's scary, because you don't have the privacy you once did, especially with everyone sees what you did at the party. Everyone sees what you did at this time, when and where. And I'd say there's nothing else that I can really say that hasn't really been stated in there, because it's literally just laid out like that, like drugs, alcohol, parties, everyone not having their own sort of personal space, and especially with parents as well. That sort of thing, with parents are kind of being overbearing on the child. And where they deal with like stress by doing all these things, by going to social media, by lying to their parents and getting out, because that's their only really escape. So that's something really big.
Before, I appreciate you sharing, Eric. Before I kick it to somebody else, you mentioned social media, and that's something that changes so quickly. I think I can remember the even pre-Facebook, well, MySpace, I think it was. So there's always a new social media platform every couple of years. What is it today? We hear about, people my age hear about TikTok. Is that the current? That seems like it might be replacing Instagram, which was popular for a while. I'm curious, what's the social media platform of choice today, you think, for you?
What I think TikTok is definitely playing like a big role, but I don't think it's taken over Instagram just yet. I think Instagram still kind of reigns supreme for because I use mainly Instagram. I don't really use TikTok, but I do see people talking about TikTok more and more and more and more. So that is becoming kind of like the normal social media platform to use.
It's interesting to me too, listening to you talk about social media and youth. I can tell you for adults, it plays a similar role. There's the loss of privacy and the need to post. Someone said to me pretty recently, talked about Instagram and how many pictures are actually taken before they settle on the one that people post. So people want everything to look perfect on Instagram, and we all know our lives aren't perfect. Joel, let's throw it to you. What do you think? What do you think about the video, what you heard, and maybe what you believe the issue or issues that are germane for youth that parents need to know about?
I think that, in those type of settings, especially being in school, being around other youth, definitely drugs. I think what stood out to me the most was when they were saying, what is easier to get, weed or booze? And they definitely said weed. And I feel like, that's the most common drug that is easily dispersed. You can catch other kids in schools like smoking in restrooms, smoking vapes, e-cigarettes, nicotine nowadays. And it's kind of crazy because when I was in like middle school, you never really seen that. But nowadays it's like, everything that's disposable and vapes and stuff like that. I think it's super crazy that, youth are getting their hands on it. But hey, what can I say?
And do you think it's tied to marijuana or cannabis being legalized recently, or has it always been kind of under the surface and maybe not quite so out and open? It kind of struck me when you just said you can catch youth, smoking in the bathroom, because when I was a kid, that was never going to happen. So that shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feel like now that it has been legalized, it's kind of more open and freely. You kind of catch kids who are young entering high school, maybe even like about to leave middle school. They're smoking. Definitely back then it wasn't as easy, as accessible as it is now, and especially with music, hip hop, movies, it's all like the culture now. So once the kids get their hands on it, they're gonna, of course, experiment and just try it out. So
yeah. How about you, Michael? Thoughts about the video, or thoughts about what the issues are that youth are struggling with or trying to manage?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kind of piggyback off what Joel said. Drugs, of course, like he said, weed is huge, but I feel like the biggest issue too is that at this young age, you're really trying to figure out who you are, right? And you get kind of caught up with trying to fit in with the crowd, and you're trying to learn your emotions and figure out why you feel this way, why you do this type of thing. And I feel like you got all that going on in your brain, and you're trying to fit in at the same time, right? So you can kind of get caught up with the wrong crowd and not even really know it's the wrong crowd, right? And you just end up making mistakes and doing stuff that you really don't think is bad because it's so normalized. Like Joel said, I can relate to what he's talking about with smoking in the bathroom. Like at my high school, man, each bathroom you would go to, you would always see someone in there smoking. So it's very real, and it's everywhere.
And what's the climate like for in a school where kids are smoking, youth are smoking in the bathroom? Do teachers and adults kind of get engaged, or does everybody just kind of look the other way? And I'm not trying to beat up on anybody, but I'm remembering again back decades ago when I was in high school, man, you'd have got thrown out of school so quickly. And even for a nicotine, a cigarette, you'd have got thrown out so quickly. We were scared to smoke in school. We would cross the street and go to the party store or whatever, but certainly not in school. So I'm just wondering about whether or not the culture in schools has changed, that everybody's just kind of looking the other way or nodding or just accepting that that's the way things are.
Yeah. So I've been out of high school for about 3 years now. So, but when I was in high school, what I can say is that they started picking up on the fact that kids were smoking a lot more. And so they would have, the security guards kind of check in on the bathrooms every once in a while. And I had a couple of friends who would get suspended for when they would get caught. And so they kind of started picking up on the fact that, it's happening a lot, and they would just suspend kids.
Yeah, yeah. Michael, as long as you got the floor, let's throw the next question to you. Why do you think it's so difficult for youth and young people to reach out to parents and caregivers about issues that they're struggling with? What's the barrier there? It's I got to reach back, as I said a little bit, to get back to when I was that age, and I know what the barriers were for me. But more recently, I'm wondering from your perspective, why is it so hard for young people to reach out to the adults or the older folks in their lives?
Yeah, I feel like it's all about behaviors, you kind of pick up the behaviors that you see from your parents. And if you have, a mom or a dad who's really not open with their feelings or doesn't really talk about, certain stuff with you, I mean, you kind of pick up on that, and then you kind of, establish that behavior as your own, and it's kind of normalized that you don't talk about it, right? It's not, something that you just do. You just go talk to your parents. It's just, for me at least, it wasn't really normal.
Thought about it really, and I want to hear from Joel and Eric before we move on. But you just touched a nerve. I had a father who was quite introverted, and he didn't talk about anything. Not only did he not talk, but I was raised in a house where the old phrase used to be, children should be seen and not heard. So we were encouraged not to talk about things, and that set up some problems for me later in life. I won't get into that. Eric, what do you think? Why is it so hard for young people to reach out to adults?
I would say not only because how do I say it? Their thought process is a lot different. Like teenagers nowadays, thought process is really different from their parents from when they grew up, and that's like the main arcing thing. But it's also something, in that when I thought about it, it's taking accountability. It's kind of like, and I don't want to like sound rude, but it's the sheep mentality, where like, oh, I see everyone else doing this, I'm gonna do it as well. And you don't want to it's a lack of accountability. Like, you don't want to admit what you're doing is wrong because everyone else is doing it. So why are you the only one that's getting singled out for it? Wow. So it's kind of like a mixture of those two things. And I think the overarching thing is like not only are the thought process differencing from teenagers and adults nowadays, but it's also I don't want to take accountability because everyone else is doing it. Kind of like, again, the sheep mentality.
I love that you use that analogy, because my mother used to use that as I was growing up. Michael, be a sheep. Don't be a sheep, be a shepherd. And as a kid, I used to think, what in the world is she talking about, when I was really little? And it took me a little while to figure that out, but my mom used to use that phrase all the time. What about you, Joel? What do you think? Before we kick one to Dr. Carlos Martinez, what do you think the barrier or barriers are to youth reaching out to older people?
I think one of the barriers is that, like Eric said, that, they think differently from their parents. And oftentimes they are under peer pressure. They want to fit in. And they think it's cool. And they definitely think that their parents don't understand what is going on, because, once your child steps out that door of your home, then they're in a whole different world, and they perceive things differently, especially as they're growing and as they're finding themselves, and as they're controlling their emotions, and going around different types of people in different settings, different environments. So I think that's one of the barriers.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing it. You just gave me an idea, Joel. Next time we do one of these, maybe we'll get a current parent, a parent of a young person in here to talk about the other side. Because again, for me and Dr. C, who we're going to hear from in a second, Dr. C, though, you're raising kids right now, so I'm farther along that than you. Let me throw it to you, Dr. C. What are some of the mental health impacts on youth when they're in families where relationships are a little tense, or if not tense, a little distant, when the youth don't feel really comfortable for whatever reason talking to the adults in their lives? What are the mental health impacts of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it just as adults, right? Think about us as adults being in a relationship, whether it's a work relationship or spouse relationship, where there's a lot of tension. You know, we start feeling anxiety, and anxiety can present itself in a lot of different ways, right? Irritability, issues with sleeping. So take all that stuff and put it into youth, whether it's middle school, teenagers, or people who are just getting started with life right after high school. It's the same thing. It's anxiety issues. And those anxiety issues can morph into a bunch of different things. It can morph into social phobias, social disorders, eating disorders, right? Self-image. We talk about social media. Everyone's glamming out there. Well, I gotta be 105 pounds, 110 pounds. You know, depression. Everyone's sitting here talking about me, bullying me. If I'm getting bullied, at least without social media back in the 1900s when I grew up, at least it kind of went away when school stopped. But then it was always there, social media. You wake up in the middle of the night, you start scrolling. It's like 3 in the morning. I'm scrolling. Oh my gosh, I got to be up in a few hours. You start to catastrophize. What else? I mean, and then that just leads into other things, you know, poor decision making, or even acting out to get attention. If your parents aren't giving you attention at home the way you want it, you're going to do whatever you can to act out just to get something. Hey, look at me. Don't forget about me. I'm here. So it's a lot of things. It's very complicated, and it makes life difficult when there's tension at home. Tension is normal, but it's how we all deal with it in a family structure.
Yeah. I smiled only because you said in the 1900s.
1900s?
I heard in the 19th century, and I was thinking, you
and
I aren't that old.
Look at Joel, he's laughing.
But yeah, we both grew up in the 1900s. You're right. Let's throw it back to our younger people today and ask. I'm just wondering whether or not our expectations of you guys are too high. And I'm remembering back to when I was raising my kids. I think I had really high expectations, and looking back on it, maybe I was a little too hard on them. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, do you think our expectations of you guys, given what you've described, I mean, some of these things, there was no social media, for instance, when I was a kid. We didn't have to deal with any of that. So if something was going on in your life, the people you told in your life about it, that was all the people that knew, and through the gossip, through the grapevine, people might find out. But there was certainly no posting, and then tens of thousands or even more people had access to that information. So I'm wondering from you guys, maybe starting with you, Joel, do you think expectations of youth being perpetuated by adults are too high?
I think definitely, depending on your relationship with your parents, it can be too high. I definitely feel that, sometimes parents can like scold their children too much, or, want them to be a certain way. But you also got to understand that they're growing and they're going through their own emotions. They're going, they're still finding themselves. So they definitely have to experiment, and they not necessarily with drugs, but experiment with their emotions, interact with different type of people, just so they can definitely learn the playing field, definitely learn what's hot and what's cold, and what they do like and what they don't like.
Yeah. Before we go to the next video, Michael, you're nodding. Do you agree with Joel on that?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like it just determines this by the circumstance. If you're not going to provide your kid with resources and support for that expectation that you're trying to push them towards, then I feel like it's definitely too high, because you're just kind of putting all this weight on them, but not really telling them like how to deal with it, or what the parent is actually looking for. So I feel like if you're gonna have those expectations, you got to support them.
Yeah, that's real talk too. If you're gonna have that, I love the way you put that. If we're gonna put the expectations on them, Dr. Carlos is nodding. You'd agree with that, Dr. Carlos, from a clinical perspective?
From a clinical and from a parent. right?
Yeah.
I mean, 10 and 13 years old. Yeah, got to put your money where your mouth is at. If I'm going to expect something high, set the bar high. As a parent, I also need to realize I need to support them when they don't meet those targets. Right? Yeah. No, it's good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
You can see, Dr. C, that's why I had these guys here. They've been
Yes.
up all summer with us, so that's why they're
Yes.
here. Let's take a look at our next video. And Eric, stand by. You're going to be first up coming out of this one. We're going to take a look at a video. This is billed as what every teenager needs to hear. So I'm curious to see if you think the producers of this one got it right. But let's take a look at it as a jumping off point for the next set of questions. So let's take a look. We'll be back.
Not caring what people think will be the best choice you ever make. Bro, this whole I want to be popular stuff is basic. I know you see the cool kids, they dress fresh, they get the attention, they turning up, they going to parties, and you want to be like them, right? Keep it 100. Sometimes you feel like you're not enough, right? Well, I'm telling you, you are enough. You were born original. Don't you dare die a copy. You were born to stand out. Stop trying to fit in. Popularity does not mean quality, but I get it. I get it. See, in this crazy world we live in, it has no chill. Some people are loved for being fake and others are judged for being real. But you have to be real. Never stop. Because it's better to be hated for who you are than liked for who you're not. So what if you don't fit in? So what if you're not perfect? Do you know how diamond experts can tell if a diamond is real or worthless? See, the fake diamonds are perfect. The real ones have flaws. And just like that, fake people appear perfect. Real people make mistakes and have flaws. And let me tell you this, the coolest people don't care about being cool. The people who care about being cool are the saddest. When they go home, they're not happy with who they are. Because see, popularity is when other people like you. True happiness is when you like you. See, me and you, bro, we got the same story. See, I was that shy kid. There was nothing I wanted more than for people to like me, but it didn't happen. And I would always think like why? Why can't more people like me? And then it dawned on me. See, sometimes the universe has to protect you from what you think you want. See, me not being popular gave me time to work on me. And when I worked on me, everything changed. When I had the courage to be me, people started coming to me. See, I found out that I was enough already. And just like that, you are enough already. See, nobody has lived your life. Nobody can tell your story. So pick your head up. Don't dim your light so that others don't have to squint. Don't hide your shine underneath the shade. Don't trade your dignity for popularity. You may not be popular now, but you will be great one day. Right now, you may not be well known, but one day you will be worth knowing. So keep focusing on you. And don't worry about what these people think, mainly because most people don't think. Most people will judge you based on an opinion from somebody else. Man, treat these people like coupons and cut them out of your life. Leave them on red. It's time to focus on you. You may not see it now, but in 5 years, none of this popularity stuff is gonna matter. See, popularity ends on yearbook day. What you build and who you become will last the rest of your life. So don't let them write your story. You keep caring about what people think, you will forever be their slave. And you're stronger than that. So never forget who you are, because it is who you are that makes you great.
throw it to Erick right away coming out of that. Erick, what do you think about that video? And then our question for you is if you weren't lucky enough to have a mentor there like the young man in that video did, then how can youth build the confidence that they need to get through life? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, to comment on the video, as soon as he began talking, it reminded me of something my mom would always say, and it's always, some people just ain't gonna like you. You're not everyone's cup of tea, and there's no more truth in that because it's just fact. Like it's something that you're gonna go through life. Sometimes people just do not like you, and you can't be friends with everybody, and that's kind of, it's not really sad, but it's the harsh, I wouldn't say, it's a harsh reality of it. And you just got to remember that those who stick around are the ones that actually like truly like you. And like you said, popularity, it comes and goes. Like, and I think it was a quote, and I think it went, what's true ain't always popular, and what's popular ain't always true. And that's the truth. And it's because sometimes what people want to believe isn't what they should believe, and what they should believe, they don't want to believe it. And when it comes to when youth today, when they don't really have that figure, I think it all begins inside. It all begins internally, because the only person who's going to have your back throughout your entire life is you. The only person that looks after you all the time and is there with you all the time is you. So I think it all begins with them sort of building the courage enough. And that's not saying that they shouldn't go to somebody. Of course, they can always build relationships with the people. They could always go talk to a professional. So trying to build that confidence. But I think first it begins telling yourself that I need to get this done. I'm always going to be there for me. And that's just the short and sweet of it.
Erick, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but could you share how old you are?
I'm 18.
You're 18. I can tell you it took me quite a lot longer past 18 before I figured out the only one who had my back was me. It took quite a long time. And I'll share really quickly. I want to hear from Michael and from Joel, but I remember 7th through 9th grade for me, those are the hardest 3 years of my life for all kinds of reasons. And I was ready to make some really, really not smart decisions that could have resulted in me not even being on the planet anymore. I mean, I was suffering from suicidal ideation and self-esteem problems or whatever. And there was something that kicked in. My joke is that some chemical, Dr. C might be able to help us with this, is that brain was developing somewhere between 9th and 10th grade. I just decided that the fat, nerdy, I was one of the smart kids that people made fun of me for that. You know, I got comments about how I spoke, and I was supposed to change how I talk. And something just kicked in, and instead of trying to pretend to be something I wasn't, I said, I'm just going to lean into what I am, because what I am is what I am. I can't change it. This is what I got. And by 12th grade, that nerdy contingent was following me. You know, they were trying to be Michael P. But I was lucky there, and I think I had some role models in media that I was kind of seeing, you know, some of the nerds being more popular. But that was just my role. But I can tell you that by 18, I still hadn't figured out that only I was going to have my back 24/7. So that's some powerful stuff. Michael, talk about the video and what your thoughts are about how youth can develop self-esteem and find mentors and role models when they might not be readily available.
Yeah, man, I feel like that video was extremely powerful. You know, I wish every teenager could watch that. I feel like it was my testimony. It was just a beautiful video. And what really got me was when he talked about you'll be most happiest when you're like 100% you. It was something along those lines. And that really resonated with me because it's very true to my life. You know, whenever I'm doing what makes me happy and what I feel like is the right thing to do, regardless of what other people say, it's just when I'm happiest. And I feel like if everyone could adapt that at such a young age, you know, it would take away so much of this trying to be like other people. But again, like you said, without mentors, it's really hard for, you know, young people to understand that. And so that's why I feel like it's kind of up to us, you know, older people, to be able to help these younger kids and really understand what it is that they're trying to face. And that's something that I'm, you know, in a position to do right now too. I have 2 younger sisters who are in high school, and you know, it's kind of hard to portray that information to them when that's their reality and they're going through it day by day. But you know, you just got to be persistent with it, and then if you really know that person, you'll know how to get to them. And then, you know, even if it's little pieces of information, anything that you can, you know, talk to them about, it'll help.
Great comments there, guys. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, the kids are dealing with a lot of stuff, and with all the stuff that you guys deal with, us as adults, we tend to forget, right? And to hear you guys talk, and to feel what you guys are what you guys are throwing down, it makes me very proud that you guys are here and that you're future leaders, if that makes sense, right? Um, any other thoughts? Joel, Michael, Eric, anything?
Yeah, I could definitely hop in. I thought the video was great, by the way, and like Michael said, everyone should see that. Every teen that's in high school and middle school, definitely. They might just hear it and let it go through one ear and out the other, but there's some gems in there, and I would say that they like the best advice I would give is to try to find a hobby or talent or something that you're good at, just to take your mind off of the the people that you feel are looking at you, and the popularity that you're trying to fit in. Just focus on what you're good at, focus on your talents, and focus on how you want your future to be, because high school and middle school is not always going to be there. It's a fun place. It's like the playground. It's a jungle gym. And I would also say, if you want to find like a mentor, like definitely don't be scared to talk to people. That's one thing that I've always done. I've always been able to speak to everyone, or just ask them, oh, how you doing? One thing, just saying hi to someone, that conversation can just go anywhere. And
Saying a hi, saying a smile can go a long way for
a
somebody.
long
Yeah.
way, and you
Yeah.
never know who that person is. So
Yeah, no, going back to the video, you said something about gems, right? So I wrote down here in my notes, fake equals perfect and real equal flaws. So before we started recording, I told you guys, hey, I just want to have fun, maybe throw in a few jokes, a few laughs, but it helps us to, shake off some of that nervousness as we're going live right now, or people will be hearing us years down the road. But I'm always the first one to say, I'm not perfect. I've got doctor in front of my first name. That doesn't mean I know every single thing, right? I'm a dad of a 13 and 10-year-old. That doesn't mean I'm a perfect parent. Some days I'm good, and some days I'm like, oh, what am I doing here, right? So for you three here, if later on down the road you all decide to become parents, right? And Michael and I have had this conversation. It's about breaking the cycle of our own parents, right? Mike, we were just talking about being fake, being real, diamonds in the rough, talking about these little diamonds here, right? It's about breaking the cycle of our parents, what we like, taking that to being better parents than they were, respectfully, of course.
Really appreciate everybody sharing perspectives on that video. I'm glad it was as powerful for you as it was for us here at Brother Be Well. That's why we wanted to share it, and appreciate you guys kind of sharing your perspective on that. Let's get to this next question right now. The question is, let's talk about youth and drugs. And I'll share that Eric, Joel, and Michael are part of our Youth Substance Use Academy this summer. It's the second time we've done it, and they've been with us for the last 9 weeks with a series of mental health clinicians, mentors, recovery experts, addiction experts. So they're a little well-versed maybe on this than your general youth, or at least we hope so. But let's talk about youth and drugs. What's going on there, guys? What are the issues? What we talked about smoking a little bit and marijuana in bathrooms, but what's really going on with regard to behavior that we know is quite risky? Let's just open it up. Let's talk about youth and drugs. Who wants to take that first of our youth?
I could go ahead and hop in first.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, so I feel like, oftentimes, definitely what I was hearing through this 9-week course, at Brother Be Well, is to definitely do your research on, what you're going to ingest or what you're being offered, and, find out what drug it is, what it does, and, the side effects, definitely. And I feel like oftentimes, these days now, people will smoke weed or, be around their friends. And then if they don't have any weed or, they don't have any nicotine or vapes. They often resort to whatever else their friends has, and their friend can be experimenting with Xanax, fentanyl, Percocets, stuff like that. And then, they're just like, you know what, we want to smoke weed, we want to get high and feel that sensation, then we'll just try something else. And then that can lead down a rabbit hole. Some things can be very tragic, like just experimenting. So I would say, do your research, and yeah.
You want to appreciate that, Joel. Do you want to touch on a little bit? I'll ask somebody else. Eric, why don't you answer that same question, but touch on Roland Williams. He's our master addictions counselor for the summer. Talk a little bit about Roland's impact on you and you guys during the summer, talking in a very real way about the dangers and pitfalls that you could run into if you succumb to drug use.
I would say, touching on the youth today and drugs, is that one of the big things is it's an escape for most people. Drugs usually provide this sensation and this feeling, like Mr. Roland Williams say, and having him on, like you said, he's kept it really real and not really sugarcoating anything and not saying like, oh, well, it's like, this is the hard fact of it. And he also says, like, do your research on these things, because it's true. Like you don't know what's real, you don't know what's the truth. So it's always trying to figure out, like, for yourself, find out for yourself what is the truth and what is not. So I think especially for like youth and drug is that how easy it is and how accessible it is for people, especially with the legalization of weed. Of course, weed does have its, like, they say its benefits and its pitfalls as well. But I think Roland Williams said is that it's a gateway drug for most people. It's like, oh, well, I did this, so let's do a little bit of this. And especially with weed, people are like, oh, it's safe. With nowadays, it's not, because you don't know what it could be laced with. You don't know. And of course, I believe they also mentioned what we talk about in the academy is sometimes when you're like at a party and you take a pill, that's the last party you ever go to. That's the last time you close your eyes, and that's it. Like, it lights out for the rest of it. And you don't get a do-over, and nothing happens. Like, most of it's just a quick mistake at a party. You take the wrong pill, you don't know what you're ingesting, and you close your eyes for the last time, and that's the last time you ever. The last thing you see is sitting down on the couch or leaving the party all woozy and either dying in a hospital bed or dying on the couch in that random house. You don't know.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the link between drug use and mental health in just a second. But you just reminded me, Eric, there's a story that's just breaking today. I think that the HBO show is Euphoria, and I don't remember the young man's name. It's Angus something. He's 25 years old, you guys. And from the early stories that are just breaking, he's suspected to have ended his life by suicide via a drug overdose. And when I read that just an hour before we started today, 25, that's so young, suffering from some mental health issues for a long time, had a real setback just a week ago that he, from early reports, just could not recover from. And instead of reaching out to healthier resources, he reached out to the drugs that he was familiar with and then overdosed. We'll talk about that with you a little bit, Dr. C, in just a second. Michael, what are your thoughts on this same question?
Yeah, so one thing that really opened my eyes during the substance abuse Zooms was we watched a video one time, and then the guy was explaining how no matter how long it's been since you've taken that drug, it's always going to be addictive. And I feel like that's something that we need to explain to all the youth everywhere, is that it don't matter if you only do it once, you take a long time, you're like, oh, I want to do it again. Each time you take part in taking that drug, or majority of the drugs, you're taking a chance to becoming addicted. And I feel like that's just a big thing that most people don't know is, you hear, oh, it's addictive, but you really don't know the full extent to how addictive a drug can be and how life-changing that one decision can be to participate in taking that drug.
I'll share with you really personally before we take a look at this next video to speak to that point, Michael. When cannabis or marijuana became legalized here in California, and I had a lot of friends who were doing edibles, right? So I said, let me try these edibles out. So I started out with a little 5 milligram thing. The first time I went, it had such an effect on me. I got so high from 5 milligrams of an edible, right? That the person behind the counter, when she didn't even want to sell them to me because I'm a pretty good sized guy, and she said, "Oh, 5 isn't going to mean anything. You're not even going to feel that." And I said, no, trust me, I think I'm going to feel it. And she said, it would take me that whole bag of edibles to feel that. And this young woman said to me, I was taking one of 20. She needed all 20 of those to get high. So right in that moment, I thought, I don't think this is a good thing. I don't think I should go from 5 to 10 to 25 to 50. You know what I mean? So it just left me thinking about that question, about how quickly you can get addicted, or at the very least, your body can develop a tolerance to something, and then you need a little more and a little more and a little more to get the feeling that you want. Let's do a little bit of a pivot, because we're going to talk about substance abuse and mental health, and we're going to throw it to Dr. C in just 1 minute. But I got another video for you guys. This is America's youth and the challenges to their mental health. Let's take a look at it. About 3 minutes long, and then we'll come back together.
Look at America's youth and the challenges of their mental health. The Surgeon General sensitive to the issues they're facing, making it a priority to help.
This morning, disturbing statistics showing a rising suicide rate.
In the decade prior to the pandemic, there was a 57% increase in the suicide rate among young people. And today, nearly half of high school students are telling us that they feel persistently sad or hopeless.
The largest increase among males ages 15 to 24, an 8% increase from 2021 to 2022. But overall, the highest increase seen in youth ages 10 to 24 and Black children, nearly 37% higher than the year before. The mental health epidemic hitting college campuses like North Carolina State, where 7 students have died from apparent suicides this year, to small communities like DeKalb, Illinois, where Nevaeh Mitchell was a cheerleader and active in her community.
She was my goofball. She was always cracking jokes, making people smile.
But she struggled with her mental health.
Did you have a sense that Nevaeh was struggling more than she had been?
No, her father and I thought everything was fine. Looking back, and I've thought back a million times, as you can probably believe, but I can honestly say no.
In 2021, 22% of high school students reported seriously considering attempting suicide. 18% of high school students made a suicide plan during the past year. 10% of high school students attempted suicide 1 or more times, with 3% resulting in injury.
We've also seen that LGBTQ youth have also been suffering with rates of self-harm and suicide.
The Surgeon General says research shows it takes an average of 11 years from when a child first has symptoms to when they actually get care.
If you have any inkling that your child is struggling, do not wait. Do not be embarrassed. Do not think that you can fix it yourself. There are resources and people that can help you. Have those conversations. As a parent, sometimes it's not your job to fix it, but to get someone who can, and that's okay.
And so, of course, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's not just youth, it is everyone, every demographic, so many people across this country struggling. So it is important to know there are resources there. Yeah. Get the help if you need it. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, call or text the National Lifeline. They have made it so easy. 3 numbers, 988.
Yeah, the numbers are just so staggering.
They are.
It's really a matter of diagnosis, identifying it, and providing the resources to people who need it.
I'm so glad you did this story, because we need to be talking about this.
That's the thing, to break the stigma. We've got to talk about it. So here we are, 988.
So what do you guys think about that? Anything stand out? Don't all get shy.
The numbers. I think that's kind of what stood out to me, was the numbers, and it was a bit staggering. I think he mentioned like a 57% increase or rise
Yeah.
And that was just it's kind of like shocking and kind of staggering. And the thing is that depression, like when it comes to like depression, it's kind of, or like things like depression, like mental health issues, depression, you can't really see it. So, and those numbers, like those are what's recorded, so you don't know if there could be more. And that's
right.
That's scary.
Yeah, those numbers definitely are staggering. Anyone else?
What stood out to me was when the mom was asked, like, did you know that she was going through something? And she was like, no. And that really stuck out to me because I feel like parents don't understand how good, kids are at hiding their feelings and hiding their emotions and hiding their thoughts. And, I could come from experience. I was real good at that. And I feel like, that's majority of us. And so that's why I go back to what I said earlier with the parents' behaviors, whether you feel like your kid is going through something or not, just try your best to establish that relationship and establish that trust so that if they are going through something, they feel comfortable coming to you, because majority of the time they are, and you just don't even know it.
Dr. C, let me throw this one to you. How can we better as a community support youth who are managing mental health, right? We've talked a lot on this platform about the many challenges. Stigma is a huge one. How can we as a community, and then by default, parents and caregivers, support youth who are managing mental health challenges?
Yeah, as a community, I think before we kick it up to a community, we've got to kick it down to the individual family system. For the family system, we've got to stop thinking we can do this on our own. I'll be honest with you, we can't. Everyone needs help. Business owner needs help. Parents need help. We're not going to get out of leave this world alive without asking someone for help. But there's simple things that we can do. Simple things as a community, right? Just listen to someone, fill in the gaps, right? If my kids are blessed, mom and dad live in a house, but let's face facts. Everyone here on the stream, we can hear someone that we really care about, that we live with, say something 1,000 times, but when we hear it from one person outside our own household, everything clicks, right? So maybe the home that only has one parent, maybe someone in the community needs to step in, just be that mentor, which is what you guys are working on and doing here, right? I've said it before, Mike, it takes a village. All of us here, 10 people for one kid, right? 20 people for one kid, but that one kid's going to find somebody out of those 20. And just other simple things, just be effective listener as a community. Just listen to it. Don't listen to what the youth are saying. Don't tell them anything, just listen. Learning how to effectively express our emotions. It's little things like that. Just building the bond, making a safe environment. Those are all simple things. They seem like no-brainers, but we're so caught up in our stuff that we forget to do it.
Yeah. Really great, succinct list of tips and strategies for parents and caregivers, Dr. Martinez. Really appreciate that. As we're running out of time, and I can't believe how quickly this time flies by when we get together, right? The youth from the summer know that. We start out with an hour-long session, and before we know it, we're out of time. I want to spend a little time with each of the youth. I'd like each of you guys, if you could, to identify 3 things that parents and caregivers watching this video right now need to know about today's youth. What are 3 things we maybe need to know? Let's start out with all 3 of you guys are surprises to me. But I got to say, Erick, 18, come on, let's start out with our 18-year-old. Erick, what do parents and caregivers need to know about today's youth?
I think one big thing is that things are different now. Things aren't the same when you were growing up. Things are really different. 2, man, this is probably the most difficult, like trying to come up with 2 other things. Pay attention, look for the signs. Like your child acts differently at school than they do at home. So kind of pay attention to that. And 3, man, I'm trying to think of something. Support your kid. It's kind of weird that I have to say this, but support them, because some, like, they'll be like, you're a good parent, but sometimes they just lack that support system and that they properly have at home. So I think one big thing is support your child and ask them, like, hey, what's up with you? Like, check in, because it's one thing to take care of a kid, and it's another thing to really be in touch with them. So I guess those would be my 3 things.
Maybe my expectations were too high. We talked about that earlier. A solid 2 would be fine too, Eric, but those are a great 3. How about you, Joel? Things that parents and caregivers need to know about today's youth.
I would definitely say, like, piggyback off of Eric, is that, definitely support your child with, open arms. And I would say overall in your relationship with your family or your parents, to encourage talking about feelings, encourage talking about, your emotions, what you're going through, what you like, what you don't like. And yeah, I think that's, one of the main things.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you giving us some thought as we get ready to wrap up. What about you, Michael? Share with us what you think parents and caregivers watching this video, what should be top of mind?
Yeah, I would say to just inspire your kids by leading with your actions, be successful, It becomes contagious when you see your parent doing certain things and, living this beautiful life. And, just be what you expect from your kid. You got to lead by example, because majority of the time, most people, they pay attention more, and they pick up to what you're saying if you're actually doing it. If you're just saying stuff, I mean, that's going to go out one ear and come out the other. And the other thing I would say is just be aware of how aware we are, Pay attention to your behaviors, pay attention to your language. You don't want to be the reason why your kid is thinking negatively of themselves or having a bad day just because you went off on them or something. So just be aware of the fact that we're really aware.
I'm trying very hard not to turn away from you guys and take notes, but I'm tempted to do it. We do it all summer in the academy. Be aware of how aware you are is going to stick with me, Michael. Thanks for sharing that. Dr. Carlos Martinez, before we wrap up, you want to close us out? Give us your closing thoughts on this particular youth chat or anything that you've just heard.
Yeah, young Michael, right? Young Michael, mature Michael, 2 Michaels we have here. Kids are sponges, right? We're gonna soak things up, and we continue to soak things up. But for those of you who are here, there was Michael, there was Joel, and I know Eric, right? I'm really proud of you guys. I just met you all at the start of this recording, but I am so proud of you guys for what you're doing, what you're working on doing. And just remember, right? We're gonna have good days and bad days, but as long as we have more bad days, I'm sorry, we have more good days and bad. Yeah, I gotta flip that one around. I need some more coffee. Right, but seriously, right? We're all here for the same mission, for the same goal, to help those who are coming after us. And we're all just fighting that good fight, and that's all we can do.
I really appreciate you saying that, Dr. Carlos Martinez, Associate Marriage and Family Therapist with HearU.org. I'm trying to get the closing in as I thank you for that. You got to see 3 of the 7, Dr. Carlos. I've been able to see these guys every week for the last 8 weeks now. And I can't even say these are the 3 stars. We got 7 great guys in that summer academy. So you just got to see a little piece of the work we've been doing all summer. So thanks to you, Dr. Carlos Martinez. Joel and Eric and Michael, thanks to y'all. It's good to see you one day early. We're usually together on a Tuesday. We're taping this on a Monday. So appreciate you guys making time for us early, and we'll see you later in the week. And I want to thank you for watching this particular conversation, this youth chat. As I said, we do it 2 or 3 times a year at least, and I appreciate you taking time to do that. This particular youth chat has been sponsored by Blue Shield of California, and specifically their BlueSky initiative. You can find out all about the fantastic work that they're doing at this website, bluesky.blueshieldca.com. For our audio listeners right now, that's bluesky.blueshieldca.com. brotherbewell.com. Let me give you one other quick website while you're jotting things down, brotherbewell.com. That's ours. And if you like this particular youth chat, anything that you may have heard, if you want to hear a little bit more from Dr. Carlos or a number of mental health clinicians that he works with at hearyou.org and that we work with independently, or more of what you've got to say, we've got a series of youth chats on the platform. Check it all out at brotherbewell.com. We're a membership supported service, and memberships are free right now. So you can sign up as a member, completely free. Give us your email address, sign up for our blog, and then when conversations like this go live, you'll be among the first to hear about it. Do all of that at brotherbewell.com. My name is Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. It's a great honor of mine to be with you. I don't take it lightly that you took some time out to check out this video. Do me two quick favors if you would. Take great care of yourself and then take great care of somebody else. Till next time, bye-bye.